Hello and welcome to Wasted Plotential, where we discuss the wasted potential of our favourite plotlines. I asked on Twitter what series I should cover next, and Tekken won the vote. I originally planned to talk about Steve Fox, but once Asuka was suggested, I felt she had the more obvious wasted storyline, so she goes first. Asuka Kazama is the cousin of series protagonist Jin Kazama, introduced in Tekken 5 as the inheritor of the Kazama style moveset from her Aunt June, who has been missing and presumed dead since Tekken 3. Much like Batwoman, Asuka's existence does raise the question of, if the hero has extended family through their mother's brother, including a female cousin his own age, why is he not sent to live with them when his parents die? Jesus, what is this, parallel plots? But let's put that very important question aside and focus on Asuka's narrative. Asuka's story, initially, centered on her desire to avenge her father's hospitalization at the hands of Feng Wei, who was going around and beating up the heads of various dojos. In her story mode, she succeeded and then faced off with Jinpachi Mishima, who had just beaten down Devil Jin. After killing the man in cold blood, Asuka rushed over to help Jin, unwittingly reverting him to his human form with her latent Kazama purification, first introduced in June's Tekken Tag Tournament ending. In his confusion, Jin accidentally fell onto her chest and she punched him out. It's dumb anime shenanigans, yes, but it establishes that Asuka has inherited this power, which will be useful as her cousin is dealing with his inner darkness. Tekken 6 then revealed that not only had Asuka not encountered Jinpachi or Jin during the previous game, but she didn't even find Feng Wei. Instead, she just went home once the tournament ended, having accomplished nothing. She later learned that Jin is her cousin because he started waging war with the entire world. With Jin's descent into villainy, the Kazama healing power was needed now more than ever. So what did the writers do with Asuka? They had her set her sights on her cousin to try and put a stop to his villainy, only to get embroiled in yet another pointless rivalry that goes nowhere with Lily, which isn't even a new idea because it's basically Sakura and Karin's rivalry, but without the mutual respect that makes theirs interesting. Tekken 7 then had her fight Lily again. Fighting game rivalries, especially the serious ones, have a tendency to stagnate or be cancelled outright because it can only end with one character killing the other. See Nina vs Anna and Yoshimitsu vs Brian as respective examples. So it's seriously upsetting to see this very spunky character with such an obvious tie into the central narrative being locked up in rivalry prison and not being allowed to do anything. Despite being the cousin of the series' main character, Asuka's never had the chance to be in the spotlight, making one wonder why they even bothered to make her related to him in the first place. This could be because the games after her debut focus on Lars and Heihachi respectively, but Jin was 6's main antagonist, so there really is no excuse there. 7 gets a pass because Jin's in a coma the whole time, which could probably justify an episode all on its own. So let's consider what could have been done with Asuka had the series not devolved into generic fanfiction and left her in the fighting game equivalent of a passionless, sexless marriage with Lily. In Tekken 6, Asuka learns that the new head of the Mishima Zaibatsu waging war with the world is her cousin, the son of her Aunt June, who has been presumed dead for 6 years. Asuka thinks that Jin's abandonment by their family, leaving him to be taken in by his morally questionable grandfather, who is now also presumed dead, is the reason for his downfall. Feeling the responsibility to redeem her family personally, and also wanting to stop this war he's waging, Asuka sets out to put a stop to Jin's villainy, by force if she has to. We'll say that Asuka did fight Feng Wei in the 5th tournament, but lost. Jin then beat Feng, setting the stakes for her battle with a clearly superior opponent. Beating him in a fight is fairly unlikely, but she might be able to end the fight with a plea to his humanity. She tries to get to Jin early on, but his security stops her. She tries to fight her way through, and Jin notes that her fighting style mirrors his mother's. As such, he quickly realises she's a Kazama and takes the time to speak with her briefly. As Jin isn't actually evil and is using the war for the greater good, he tries to discourage her from pursuing him so that she doesn't become a target for his enemies or get caught up in the war. She's stubborn and won't be dissuaded, so he fights her and beats her in hopes of sending a message that she just can't win. She loses and is forced to leave. From here, she joins up with other characters looking to end the conflict or defeat Jin or Kazuya, like Zafina, Miguel, Leo and Julia. They make a united effort to defeat the two, bringing in a few other characters without a specific motive for fighting them, like Yoshimitsu and Jinrei, expanding their roster until they can pose a genuine threat. During this time, Asuka trains under Jinrei, who knows the Mishima style's weaknesses from his friendship with Jinpachi, and also explains to her the history of the cursed Mishima bloodline. She's now better prepared for the next fight with Jin. The group goes after Kazuya first. Asuka is captured by Anna on Kazuya's behalf, hoping to use Jin's cousin against him as either a tool or a bargaining chip. Regardless, she's brought by Kazuya to the site where he will fight Jin. Lars then shows up to have his fight with Kazuya. Asuka escapes in the confusion and comes across Jin. They have a rematch before Lars is done with Kazuya. This time, Asuka is more of a match for Jin, allowing her to keep up and try to get through to him. He wants her to leave because he can feel the devil energy emanating from Azazel, who is about to reawaken as per Jin's plan. Asuka refuses and the fight continues as Jin's mind is bombarded by Azazel's taunting of Jin's actions proving he's lost his humanity, which has been on his mind since he started down this path. Eventually, Jin is overwhelmed and becomes Devil Jin. Asuka doesn't do nearly as well against Jin's powered up inner darkness, who beats her soundly. However, she keeps talking, emboldening Jin to fight for control from within. She gets close enough to put a hand on his shoulder, unwittingly using her power for the first time in the canon. Jin is restored to his human form and thanks Asuka for helping him to find his humanity again. He then employs an anime stomach punch to knock her out and has Nina carry her away, saying goodbye to Nina as well. Then Lars shows up and the scene plays out largely the same as in the game. In Tekken 7, Asuka has been taken home by Nina, who explains Jin's plan to her instead of Lars. If anyone deserves to be in the triumvirate of those in the know, I'd say it's Asuka, not Lars. Asuka then forces her way into the group helping the comatose Jin, possibly alongside Xiaoyu. She is then ready to play her part in helping Jin finally put an end to Kazuya's villainy in Tekken 8. Of course, she's figured out that he plans to fully end the Mishima bloodline by killing himself at the end, and she has a plan to stop him from doing so. The issue with Asuka is similar to the issue with Irene in modern Ninja Gaiden. You have the setup for a really significant character, but nothing is done with her, making one wonder why they even bothered. The protagonist's cousin should be really fucking important, but nah mate, we have to make room for Harada's favourite character and make him sympathetic despite how he's tried to murder basically every member of his family. Seriously starting to see some parallels to MK here. Tekken 8 desperately needs to bring back June and explain what became of her, maybe tying into the unknown stuff from the tag tournament games, bring Asuka into the central narrative as an ally or obstacle for Jin's conflict with Kazuya, and bring final resolution to Jin's family situation, which should have been resolved in 7 since it touted itself as the end of the Mishima saga, as if Kazuya's son doesn't count because he doesn't carry the name, even though the central narrative is about the bloodline of the Mishima family and half the series subtitles are edgy names about blood. What the hell happened to this series, man? Honestly. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended video is History Behind the Warriors video on Asuka because there's fuck all else to shill. Where the hell are all the Tekken fans on YouTube?